Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Adura, and in this video, I will be presenting while explaining the concept of debt and money in both the Islamic and contemporary economic perspectives. What is debt and what is money? To explore these concepts a little deeper, we'd have to include the concept of interest in this relationship as well. David Graeber, in his book Debt, The First 5,000 Years, asked, "What is debt anyway?" A debt is just a perversion of a promise. It is a promise corrupted by both math and violence. In Arabic, debt translates into the word dain, which developed from the word din, referring to submissiveness or disgrace. But debt in modern days is commonly related to interest or riba. Let us explore these concepts further. The money that we have today is a medium of exchange which is technically not backed by any assets, only the central bank institution. When people deposit money into their bank accounts and these banks in turn use those deposits to loan other people more money. Thus, the question is, what is money but an IOU, which is another form of debt? In Islamic perspectives, debt is only reasonable if the debtor has means and intention to repay them. Without these key principles, debt is prohibited. But with the interest or riba, debt does not remain constant and instead increases at a growth rate. The functions of money, as we have stated earlier, works as an instrument as well, which was explained by Ibn Khaldun as well as Al-Ghazali. But Al-Ghazali stressed that money should be circulated and not hoarded. You see, my dear viewers, with the existence of riba, that accentuated the desire for money for its own sake, which is the desire for money and not for its end game, which was warned by Al-Ghazali. This desire for money perpetuated our current problems in this world. Contemporary economists too attributed money to debt and its relations to interest. Alan Brown argued that money is advanced as credit against the borrower's promise to repay, but that the interest on the advance accrues to both private banks that give up nothing of their own to earn it, which explains riba's working of making money on money. Although riba or interest were legitimate in macroeconomics, it is highly argued in ecological economics, which was described as interest or usury, or even lending at fixed or excessive interest. This is because money was regarded as an end in itself, argued Visa and McIntosh. Remember Al-Ghazali? An example of a financial policy that introduced and perpetuates interest in our daily lives is the fractional reserve banking policy. It's a policy that allows banks or do not restrict them from lending money based on deposits made by savers, enabling banks to create new money, such as creating new loans to finance a debt, such as we have defined earlier. But, my dear viewers, you might ask, but what are the effects of an interest-based monetary system? Surely it can be too bad. Well, it does affect both society and the banking firms. Increasing interest creates a high-risk burden, pressuring the debtor to pay more than what they owed, meaning that interest plus principal, while defaulters is a loss for banking firms when these debtors are unable to pay the interest plus the principal. On top of that, interest rates also affects the market, especially on cost of borrowing, price levels, and thus determines growth and employment. An example is that high interest rates means higher prices, meaning more savings and less consumption, which translates to not enough revenue for businesses and, well, termination of employees, thus contributing to unemployment. But what about that? Surely it's a good thing. Well, it does help the people when it's needed to. But with interest, same thing happens. The debt balloons and people or countries won't be able to service the debts anymore. High debts also creates political instability. Remember Nazi Germany? They used their World War I debt to gain support of the people. That also causes economic crises. The 1997 economic crisis happened because hedge funds used borrowed money to influence the Asian stock market. These fluctuations caused Asian currencies to flow out, forcing their central banks to buy back the massive amount of local currencies. For that, they either need to devalue their currency or borrow from the IMF, so the debt cycle continues. Another scenario, the 2007 economic crisis was caused by the selling of subprime mortgage bonds, a debt made out of debt. When it was making so much money, qualifications for the mortgages started to loosen, and people started to default their mortgage payments. And then the asset crashed because of the defaulters. But why am I saying all of these? Well, I'm saying there's a reason why that was discouraged and interest was prohibited in Islam. It's not just because of what it is or because we're told to. It's because the very nature of such things, combined with the very nature of us human beings, leads to consequences beyond our foresight. To solve this, we need not only an interest-free world, but also a moral economy that is principled, moderate, and far away from the natures of riba. Thank you.